It's now time to take a drive around the SEC.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Incredible summer savings all summer long on the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
All right, welcome back. It is ITG. Jamie had to step aside for a few moments. We just sub in the one and only Sherb Nation. It's like a tag team event here. You know, it's like the Rock and Roll Express, the British Bulldogs.
Our roster runs deep with talent, though. That's what it is.
Well, exactly. It's like we trade Dusty Rhodes, taps out, and here comes Ric Flair. Go ahead, Nature Boy. Give us your best move. There you go. There you go. Thanks again to Stephen Garcia for joining us. It is time for the Love Chevy Drive around the SEC, presented by Love Chevy and lovechevy.com, home with a $1,000 low price guarantee. You can't beat it. You don't even want to try. Just enjoy it. You heard Jamie talking about Nico earlier and saying he's definitely out. It's really weird. There's conflicting reports all over the place. Whether it's Pete Thamel, whether it's some of the insiders, whether it's your boy Shannon Terry, JC. This is from RockyTopTalk.com, and I'm only using this one because they reference some other folks out there. But basically what happened was against Mississippi State, he had to leave the game in what was called an upper body injury. I love that. It's also called a head.
He's got a head.
Yeah, he's got a head. They've narrowed it down to concussion-like symptoms. So following the game, Josh Heupel describes Nico's absence as precautionary, and he confirms that the starting quarterback was with his team and practiced on Monday. Quote from Josh: "He was with us today. He had a really good day. Feel like he'll be in great shape for Saturday, but you guys can monitor whatever the report is that comes out on Wednesday and track it through the week. But certainly we feel like he'll be in a good spot." That is the direct quote from Josh Heupel. Now, backup Gaston Moore finished the game against Mississippi State. He played the entire second half. So since those comments were made, several people, quote unquote, in the know have offered their own reports, including Chris Felica, better known as the Bear. He was with Game Day at ESPN. Now he's with Fox. Well, why should we care about what Chris Felica thinks? Well, because Chris Felica is a big gambler. So this point spread, which is also part of the Salsaritas Fab Five, is right now it's 10. The Bear says Nico is not expected to play against Georgia due to a concussion. Pete Thamel says Nico is in concussion protocol after leaving the state game last week. He did dress and practice on Tuesday. So he practiced on Monday and Tuesday, and his status for Georgia is undetermined. Shannon Terry of On3 Sports, who JC knows very well, says 3 words, quote, "He is playing." Brent Doherty says, update, "I hear he'll be good to go." More like 50-50. So nobody seems to know whether or not Nico's going to play. JC, you have any inside scoop from the 24/7 Tennessee website?
No. Shannon would probably know that, though. And Shannon doesn't. I mean, it's not like Shannon's not a newsbreaker. He's a CEO. I mean, he has enough connections to Tennessee, though, where he would probably know that. I'm going to go with he's playing.
I have a weird feeling he's going to play. I have no inside information. I'm just reading the tea leaves here. I mean, you could argue that the advantage of blatantly lying when you know he's not going to play, well, then they got to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. I don't know.
Who's their? Really... I don't even know their backup played. Is their backup? Did he?
Well, I mentioned his name, but I don't know much about him.
What's his name?
Oh, you're going to make
Moore,
me go back and read that. I just lost it. I know nothing about him because I hadn't seen him play a lick.
Look, here's what Tennessee does. They're not quarterback dependent anymore. They just run the ball. I mean,
Right. I mean, that's
if Samson was hurt.
That's a different story. But he's healthy, and their running game is very healthy. But obviously, I mean, Nico, you'd rather have Nico. But we don't know if he's going to play. Nobody seems to have a definitive word, and Tennessee is sending mixed signals on whether or not he's going to play. I'll tell you who doesn't ever give mixed signals. It's that damn Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin of Tiger King fame. Remember her?
Yes.
I think everybody.
Are we really going down the Tiger King road again?
We are. I'm gonna link Carol Baskin to the SEC. You want to know how I'm gonna do it? It's not easy. Well, Carol Baskin apparently was tuned into LSU, Alabama, because when she's not killing ex-boyfriends, she's a big college football fan. Did I say that out loud? She's watching the game and she noticed the Tigers. They pulled out all the stops, so they haven't done this in a long time. They had a live tiger on the field. Live tiger on the field. It's the first time since 2015 that the Tigers did that over there in Death Valley. So instead of bringing Mike the Tiger, the team's live mascot that lives on the campus, the school brought in a tiger from a sanctuary in Florida. So, Mike, if you've been to LSU, right next to this basketball arena and across the street from the football stadium, they actually have, it looks like a damn zoo exhibit, and they have a real tiger in there. That's Mike. No relation. But they didn't bring Mike in the stadium. They went and got him from a sanctuary in Florida. Well, this did not make Carol Baskin very happy. You do not want to piss off this woman. I'm telling you right now.
She said, it wasn't her sanctuary?
Yeah. I don't know if she still has that or not. I don't know. I don't know what Carol's doing these days. Bringing a live tiger to a football game is quite possibly a violation of the Federal Lacey Act and Louisiana's own dangerous animal laws, and it also sends the wrong message to students about respect for wildlife, she told TMZ. She later, frothing at the mouth, said, trucking a wild animal all the way from Central Florida for a spectacle is blatant disregard for the tiger's well-being and reinforces the dangerous idea that nature exists solely for our entertainment. It's good to see Carol Baskin has really, mellowed out a little bit, and those meds are working well.
Yeah, we need a tiger, Joe Exotic, who's obviously the star, is locked away for 20 years.
Yeah,
I thought was a lot considering there are two sides to every story. Look, I'm going to tell you this right now. That same line of thinking, the people, and I love animals. I'm an animal lover. Let me just be clear. I think people that are mean to animals, dogs, whatever kind of animal there is, they need a little bit more severe punishment. I think there's sick people out there who get their rocks off hurting helpless animals. But this psychotic type of behavior is the same type of behavior that got Peanut the squirrel kidnapped by the state of New York and decapitated, and Fred the raccoon suffering the same fate when they were happy in a come to me, my jungle friends type of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs environment where they got fed, which is all they really care about, and taken care of. Sometimes the people that think that it's their God-given right to protect nature have zero common sense. They're zealots, and it's really sick on their part too, because they kind of get their rocks off playing God, and that's Carol Baskin. That's that Carol Baskin.
That is that Carol Baskin. She's
and whoever's in charge of the Department of Environment in the state of New York, or whoever did that. That's like, the term Nazi's been thrown around a lot. That's the closest thing to Nazi type behavior I've ever seen. When you got a guy that loves animals, taking care of animals on a farm in the middle of nowhere, some nosy ass neighbor complains, and you send in the damn cavalry, armed people, or it may not have been armed, but a SWAT team to kidnap this poor guy's raccoon and squirrel and kill it. Because you ordered a rabies test when there was no sign of rabies, and the only way to do a rabies test is to chop their head off. So they went to the little tiny guillotine, which is also sort of European atrocity behavior. That's awful. And that's the type of thinking of people like Carol Baskin. There's also somebody from the Humane Society in Virginia. You ever heard that story in Virginia Beach? This little girl had her Chihuahua off the leash. She should have had it on the leash. And they thought it was being neglected in a trailer park, kidnapped this chick's pet, little girl's pet, and euthanized it within 4 hours because it was malnutrition. And we just had to put it out of its misery. Wasn't sick, had some kind of condition that was treatable. And by the time they figured out that it was somebody's pet, the thing was dead, gone to doggy heaven. Those are 3 examples of people like Carol Baskin. So screw her and the horse she rode in on. Which she would probably beat the hell out of that horse.
I did not expect this kind of reaction on this story, but you know what? I'm here for it.
Hey, I'm pissed off about that Peanut and Fred thing.
The Peanut is upsetting.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah,
I think the term you're looking for is overreach.
That type of stuff doesn't happen in the glorious South, does it?
I don't know. I've gotten a few letters about my pet aardvark, but if you mess with Sammy, we got problems. I'm just telling you. Okay. How do I pivot from this? The SEC has issued some fines. So Ole Miss, you might have noticed, they tried the field storm twice. Once they did it, there's like 14 seconds left on the clock. And then you got to finish the game out. So 16 seconds. So then they have to go back out, and then they go to 0, and then they storm the field. So it's $250,000 for the second storm, which was a second offense for Ole Miss. They also tacked on an additional $100,000 for the premature celebration. I think there's a pill for that. So all told, Ole Miss is fined $350,000. Now, the way the rule states, guess who gets that check?
Yeah, Georgia.
Georgia now. With all these storming rules, just like Carolina had to cut a check to Texas A&M, Georgia just got $350,000. So maybe they can get Carson Beck another Lambo or something. I don't know, but that is the status there. $350,000 goes straight into the account of the University of Georgia. Now, LSU got a fine. This one's different. This stems from fans throwing bottles and other debris on the field during Saturday night's game against Alabama. That violates the SEC's sportsmanship policy and requires LSU to pay the fine of $100,000. Now, that does not go to Alabama. For whatever reason, that's under a different jurisdiction, and that actually goes to help scholarships for grad students around the SEC. But a lot of fines took place this weekend. A lot of checks were cut. The Walter Camp semifinalist list is out. If you're wondering what the Walter Camp Award is, it's kind of like a version of the Heisman. I mean, it basically goes to who they deem is the college football player of the year. It doesn't obviously have the prestige of the Heisman, but you take a look, you've got some great winners, and very often they mirror who won the Heisman. Like last year, for example, Jaden Daniels won it. The year before that, Caleb Williams won it. The year before that, though, Kenneth Walker, running back of Michigan State, won it. Other than that, I see a whole lot of actual Heisman Trophy winners. Manti Te'o won it in 2012. That's different than the Heisman. So there's a little bit of differentiation sometimes. But anyway, the list has 6 SEC players on it. Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, 3 quarterbacks, and then 3 defensive players. Walter Nolan, James Pierce, and 1 Kyle Kennard. Come on down. You are the Gamecock on the Walter Camp semifinalist list. Pretty cool to be on that list. And obviously, Kennard has gathered plenty of attention for some good things. Highest rated games last week, Bama LSU, 7.9 million. Georgia Ole Miss, 7.4. Florida Texas, 3.9. Miami Georgia Tech, 3.5. BYU Utah, 2.1. Not that one. No. Okay. I mentioned this earlier. I think it was on JC and Morgan, but the updated point spreads on that first round, if you will, that would come about in a playoff situation. Ohio State would be a 19-point favorite against Boise State. Penn State would be a pick-em with Ole Miss. Bama would be a 5-point favorite at Indiana. Tennessee would be a 2-point favorite against Notre Dame. Take that for what it is worth. And the updated spreads for this week: Texas 13.5-point favorite against Arkansas. Auburn 24 against Monroe. There was a time you couldn't find a point spread if a team played a 1AA opponent. Now you can. Kentucky's 37.5-point favorite against Murray State. Bama 41.5 against Mercer. LSU 4-point favorite against Florida. Georgia 10-point favorite against Tennessee, even without knowing who's quarterback. A&M a 39-point favorite against New Mexico State. And LSU is a 4-point favorite against Florida. And that concludes our Love Chevy drive around the SEC. Maestro, take us out, please.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Don't let the summer of savings pass you by. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.